Hello and welcome to Palabra Reclaimed. I'm Saida Pagán and I'm in conversation with Adria Arjona and Diego Boneta. They are the stars of the new movie, Father of the Bride. Welcome to both of you.
Hi, Saida.
Hi, how
it's
are
a pleasure
you?
to be here with you.
Yes, I want to start with Adria. How does it feel to be the first Latina bride in a movie with the title Father of the Bride?
The first and the only, really. It feels really cool. You know, it's an American classic, and to sort of give it this modern touch or this modern element, it just feels really special. You know, this really is an American classic, and now we're sort of bringing in and giving it our own flavor, and you know, making the spin of the modernization that we have in this movie of like, who is the father of the bride now and who is the bride nowadays? Like, what would that woman in 2022 want and desire? And I think you definitely see it in Sophie. You know, she much rather be the owner of a law firm than get married. Like, that's what her dream is, and that's where her head is at. And Billy is like constantly trying to hold on to traditions, and it's sort of that, and Sophie just wants to break them. And I think that element is interesting because it happens in every single household all over the world, no matter where you are.
I think that what will resonate is just family. You know, even though it is a wedding about two Latin families, you know, a Cuban American and a Mexican, it's authentic enough for Latinos to watch it and enjoy it and see themselves on screen represented in a way with no stereotypes. But at the same time, people from all over the world can watch it and relate.
I want to get started with Andy. When you were first approached with the idea of a Latino remake of this classic movie, what were your thoughts?
Well, I don't know, you know, I wouldn't necessarily describe it only as a Latino remake of it. It's a reimagining of the story with different dynamics completely. It happens to be specifically in the Cuban culture with the Mexican culture, the groom from the Mexican culture, but I didn't look at it as a Latino version. It has new elements to it, you know. It's a modern version, I would say more up to date in a way, you know, the way we're looking at the predicament of this. But I was very privileged that they had thought of me, that Paul Perez, the producer who had developed the piece at Warner Brothers, he was an executive there, said they were doing it with me in mind, and I was very honored that they would think of me to try to continue the legacy of that intellectual property, which has had actors I'd admired very much, both Steve Martin and Spencer Tracy, of course.
Yes.
So, as father, so I was very touched, and I felt I had a responsibility to do the best I could with it, and how the cultures are represented in the piece, you know, without the stereotypes that we've been accustomed to and so forth.
Gloria, why do you think this movie is going to resonate with so many audiences above and beyond the Latino community?
Well, because it's a human story. There's always that leaving the nest issue with parents and their children, and very specifically a daughter and a dad to suddenly find out that she's not only getting married when we have no idea that she was even dating anyone, but she's leaving the country, and at the same time dealing with the situation in our relationship that I think a lot of people find themselves when they're in the empty nest, that all of a sudden there may not be that focus on the relationship that my character wants, despite the fact that Billy has more time on his hands and she wants to experience life again because she dedicated herself to her daughters. I think anyone from any culture, these are age-old themes of just growing up, of having a family and seeing them leave your side, and yet also raising these amazing girls that are strong, and then having that bite you and you know where, because they are bucking him at every turn, both daughters, and he's having a rough time with it. And I'm loving it because I'm proud of them as a woman, and there's very strong women roles here. I think it talks a lot about the modern times and the way that women think out of the box and are no longer following these traditions.
I've been covering entertainment in the Latino community for the past year and a half, and you can't help but notice that we had In the Heights last year, we had West Side Story in December, and now Father of the Bride. The question is to both of you: does this look like a very positive trend to give authentic storytelling, to present authentic storytelling to the world about the Latino community?
Absolutely. When I first started trying to get work in this industry, there wasn't, those opportunities didn't exist. You know, the Latino cult, the roles for actors of Hispanic descent, you would typecast that you could only, first of all, you could only play an actor that was Hispanic, or you couldn't sort of play something outside of that. And the roles that they were writing were mostly gang members for males. So there was really no movies being made. There was occasionally a movie would break through, like El Norte, or, you know, but these were independent movies that people scratched their way to production. You know, they weren't studio movies. And now we're having, you can see more diversity in television. There's more opportunity, more stories are being told, like you said, last year. And so there's been a lot of progress. And we have many more great stories to tell.
Yes. And you're seeing actors that are not changing their names. You know, I was speaking yesterday with Gina Torres, who, you know, on Law and Order, she's done a gazillion roles, and was talking about how there weren't roles for Afro-Latinas because you either had to be one thing or the other, and she didn't fit in that box. We're seeing a lot more opportunity, but it would be great to see us represented in the numbers that we actually are represented in the United States. And at least it's going in a positive direction.
Thank you both so much for all that you do. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much.
A pleasure as well. Thank you.
Gracias.